Good afternoon, Ellen, and it is a beautiful day from up here about 350 feet above downtown Conway with Air 13.
Sticky fingers have cost a beauty queen in Michigan her crown. So does that mean you should stop going to the grocery store and picking up bottled water every week? Probably not. The auditor's office does try to enforce the car registration laws. Parking's relatively cheap in the town of Surfside Beach. Just 1/4 buys you a half hour of time.
We are getting pounded by some heavy winds right now.
It takes them less than a minute to put on this turnout gear or bunker gear. That story is 2 minutes long. I barely got into this.
What is it like with the pollen around your house?
Man, I tell you, the pollen is terrible because it gets in your throat and you can't do them. Just keep coughing, the water come out your eyes.
Viney Davis is suffering an allergy attack. Right outside her apartment, trees are blooming, and that means they're producing pollen. The yellow dust is on cars and gathering in mud puddles. The only place you can escape it may be right on the ocean front. But the yellow stuff isn't what causes allergies. It's microscopic particles like this, and that causes problems for people like Brenda Nagira.
My allergies have always been bad, but this time of the year is always worse because of the pollen in the air.
If you don't think there's a lot of pollen outside, just walk around for a couple of hours. This is what my shoes look like after just being out this morning. With this much pollen out there, a lot of people are getting sick from their allergies and going to the doctor for help. Dr. Danny Douglas specializes in allergies. He's seeing a lot of asthma due to pollen and some increase in sinus and ear infections from allergies gone bad, but there is help.
Allison, right now we are hovering above Atlantic Beach, basically the center of the Memorial Day Bike Festival. Let's take you outside with Power Zoom 13. You're looking at the intersection of Kings Highway, Highway 17, and 31st Avenue South in Atlantic Beach. That is basically the center of it in the top left corner of your.
There are a lot of hugs and a lot of tears at the house where Justin Overton lived.
He was a very jolly, cheerful child.
Justin's mother, Stephanie, is holding on to memories. Just hours before he was killed, he and friends rode their bicycles to church.
He loved his bicycle. They'd be out jumping the hills and what have you. And he was always in some, him and his brother.
He was a fun child, always smiling, always come in and say, "Hey, Grandmommy, how you doing? Give me a kiss." He was a good baby.
Justin was headed back home about 8:15 Sunday night with a friend, another 14-year-old riding right beside him. That's when investigators say a car came from behind and hit Justin. The sad thing is that driver didn't even stop.
I hope their conscience beat them to death, and I hope and pray that they do turn themselves in.
Police are talking to neighbors looking for leads on the hit-and-run driver, and their crime scene markers are an ugly reminder of what happened to Justin.
I know he's in a better place, and I know he made it in without a doubt. So he probably smiling down at us now saying, "Don't y'all cry," you know.
But the tears flow from the pain of loss and the pain of not knowing who was driving that car. In Horry County, Mitch Davis, News 13. Allison, it's a big mess. Now, right here under the Grissom Parkway Bridge, the channel is 10 to 12 feet deep. About a quarter mile south of here, though, it's only about 5 feet deep. Take a look at a shot from Mastcam 13. You can see what caused the problem. A huge break in the earthen dike caused the mud to flow back into the waterway. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers is trying to redredge the channel, but that work had to come to a stop today when they had a big problem. The 180-foot Grand Mariner with 61 passengers and 17 crew members ran aground on the sandbar Monday morning. The Army Corps of Engineers had ordered the vessel not to try to cross, according to a spokeswoman. It was tough going. A tender had to push the bigger vessel away from the dredge at one point, while other boaters watched with caution. Ron and Beverly Arbazani crossed that same sandbar 24 hours earlier on their yacht, Far-Fetched.
We had heard stories, everything from being totally closed to having 7 and 8 feet of water there. And we waited for a little while, and a boat came by us, and he decided he was going to go through, so we decided we'd follow him and see what happened.
The Arbazanis are spending a couple days at Barefoot Landing, where the Grand Mariner was ordered to dock and boarded by the Coast Guard for inspection. Lieutenant Aaron Healy says they're checking for damage or pollution after it ran aground. The Grand Mariner has a 7-foot draft. That's the depth of water it needs. The Arbazani's Far-Fetched has a 5-foot draft.
We showed about 3 feet on our depth sounder, which is really 5 feet actual. But our depth sounder gets kind of crazy when it's following another boat, so we're not sure what the depth really was, but we made it through without incident.
At the spill site, Army Corps inspectors are trying to figure out what caused the earthen dike to breach and get the redredging project back on schedule. And the latest word from the Army Corps of Engineers is that a temporary 10-foot deep channel will be redredged by Friday, even with the delay that was caused by the Grand Mariner running aground this morning. As for that incident, the Coast Guard says it's still under investigation, but after the inspection, the vessel was allowed to continue its cruise to Southport, North Carolina. Allison?
Mitch, what's the current status of the waterway? Can boats get through right now?
Well, Allison, after the Grand Mariner incident, the Coast Guard has tightened security here. They're calling it a safety zone. Any vessel with a draft more than 5 feet cannot come through. Vessels with less than 5 feet have to check with the dredge and get permission before they actually try to cross that sandbar. Up next on News 13 at 11, a mandatory evacuation is in effect tonight for dozens of homes in Horry County as a huge wildfire threatens to burn its way through a neighborhood. And you won't believe who's been charged with starting an even bigger wildfire near Denver, Colorado. Monty tells you if any rain could help the fight for the fire, and Brian has your sports action. It's 11 o'clock. Time for the news.
Coverage you can count on starts now. This is WBTW News 13 at 11.
This was the scene over Myrtle Beach just before sunset. A huge plume of smoke scars the skyline as the wildfire rages out of control in Horry County. Good evening from News 13's Myrtle Beach studios. I'm Mitch Davis. Thanks for joining us. Since 6 o'clock, a wind shift has caused that wildfire to turn and surprise firefighters. Up to that point, firefighting efforts had been concentrated near homes in the Hunters Ridge development, but crews had to be quickly moved after flames jumped across Legends Drive and West Perry Road just before 7 o'clock. That prompted officials to issue a mandatory evacuation order along Parkland Drive in the Turnberry Park subdivision. About 30 to 50 homes are under that evacuation order. News 13's Marcy Rubin is live at the fire command post off Highway 501 and Legends Drive. Marcy, where are those people going?
Folks, Mitch, back to you.
All right, now, Marcy, you've been out there talking to the folks in those neighborhoods threatened by the fire. What's the attitude of the residents there?
It depends on who you ask. Most people slow and see how it goes, going with the flow, I guess.
All right, Marcy. News 13's Marcy Rubin live in Horry County. Thank you very much for that live report. Now, if you need a place to stay tonight, the Red Cross has set up 2 temporary shelters. The First Presbyterian Church at 1300 North Kings Highway and the Christ the Servant Lutheran Church on Highway 501 will be taking people who have to leave their homes because of the fire or smoke. Earlier, you may have heard that the Christ the Servant Lutheran Church was closing because of the fire, but Red Cross officials have decided to keep that location available as well. You are asked to call ahead before you go to a shelter. The Red Cross phone number is there on the bottom of your screen. It is 477-0020. Again, 477-0020. Dozens of local firefighters and State Forestry Commission crews are trying to bring this wildfire under control. For the latest on the firefighting efforts, News 13's Scott Lehman is live at the command post. And Scott, where is the fire headed right now?
Right now it's headed north, but tomorrow, so you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned.
All right, we're looking forward to that as well, Scott. Now, Scott, you've been talking to the firefighters out there. They've been going about 24, almost 36 hours now. Are they beginning to get tired, and what are they doing to make sure that enough firefighters are fresh and available to fight this fire?
Well, most of the 20 them in to relieve some of the firefighters that have been down here all day.
All right, Scott Lehman live at the command post. Thank you. We'll check back with you before the end of the newscast. Because of this fire here in Horry County, there is a red flag alert for burning in all South Carolina counties tonight. That alert does not prohibit burning, but does ask that you postpone it if possible. The Forestry Commission says there is a higher number of wildfires in the state right now than is normal, and there's a concern of having enough firefighters to fight any new fires. A large number, again, are fighting the forest fire here in Horry County, and that is putting budget constraints on the firefighting workforce. News 13 at 6 is next. Coverage you can count on tonight includes concerns over docks. Are there too many along the South Carolina coast? And a buyout of the tobacco program is gaining more support. You'll get the latest. Monty?
A few showers look to threaten our area. Find out where in just a couple of minutes.
Plus, Brian Levitan shows you action at Daytona's Bud Shootout today. It's 6 o'clock. Time for all your day's news.
Coverage you can count on starts now. This is WBTW News 13 at 6.
Thought it would be safe to park our car here, but evidently it wasn't. And I'm lucky that they didn't steal what I was in there.
Even with a damaged car, a visitor to Myrtle Beach says she won't let a criminal take a bite out of her vacation. Good evening from News 13's Myrtle Beach studios. I'm
about in just a few minutes. Mitch?
All right, thanks, Monty. Hundreds of former Taliban prisoners have been enjoying their first taste of freedom, armed with the equivalent of $25 US to start a new life. Almost 300 freed Taliban prisoners lined up outside Kabul's Red Cross office just one day after they were released from jail by Afghan leader Hamid Karzai. They were released yesterday as the new government tries to heal the wounds of decades of war in Afghanistan. 2 suspects have been arrested, and Afghan authorities say they're linked to the shooting deaths of 4 journalists last year. The Interior Minister declined to reveal details, but says investigators are trying to determine if more people were involved in the murders. The 4 journalists were shot dead on November 19th after they were ambushed by armed men. They were driving along the main road from the town of Jalalabad in eastern Afghanistan to Kabul. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg led families of World Trade Center victims to Ground Zero this morning, reminding them that there is a private viewing platform available for them to remember and pray. The Port Authority opened the family members' platform on October 1st. The platform has a wooden wall that bears letters, prayers, and tributes to the dead. Quiet prayers are being said all over Britain for Princess Margaret today. Sunday morning worship at Southwark Cathedral was marked by a special ringing of the cathedral bells and memorial procession. Flags were lowered as a sign of respect for Queen Elizabeth's younger sister. Flowers have also begun to appear outside Kensington Palace. Princess Margaret died yesterday at a London hospital after suffering a stroke. She was 71.